Like I had a computer a few years ago. I thought that thing was the best machine. It wasn't. It was an atrocity. Bottleneck depot. So that taught me a good lesson. When I got my new computer, my new machine, taught me that it ain't that serious. Like things can be replaced, recuperated. The recuperation, recuperated, and sometimes when they accidentally seize your stuff or steal your stuff, it can be recuperated in many different ways. Sometimes they don't have as much money as you think. They're just going to pull out the reserve. A lot of them are big recyclers. I know that I wasn't always a big recycler, but they are. Or how about refurbished? You know, but what happened was I had many things stolen from me. But guess what? I'm at the point now it's all being refurbished, restored, and recuperated. So I'm fairly happy, very happy. Other than my Cadillac Escalade and some clothing and things, I'm about where I used to be. Back to square one is what I was calling it. Back to square one. Not square one mall. And it's not fun to go back to square one, and I'm not going back to square one all the time either. Like, how do I put it? Um, yeah, you learn your lesson and you learn about time. You're only a certain age for a certain time, and you have learning lessons. Like, yeah, it's 5:43 p.m. on January 13th, but before I know it, it's gonna be June, July, August. It's gonna be next year, 5 years from now. Before I know it, this video's 10 years old. I know that, so I'm able to manipulate what's going on in time. Because I know the importance of it. When you know the importance of the time you're in, you're able to start manipulating it and get into action. Because history is a very important thing, not only in the courtroom, altogether. History is what everything's based on. Who your father was, who your mother was, that's history. Who their relations were, that's all history. But offer relations. It's one of the most important things in life. That's why it was a big subject in your world. In your schooling. And will be if you haven't been to school yet. History. Achievements are physical a physical souvenir to your history. Even a vehicle and all those things. Guess what? There's many different ways that your history could in turn give you an achievement. You begged mom and dad for days and days and days to finally buy you that vehicle. For months and years and years. Maybe you didn't have to, but the history is your father wanted you to have a vehicle, so he bought it. Or you got a job and you bought it yourself. Or you won the lottery and you just bought it yourself. There's so many different ways, unbelievable amounts of ways to make that achievement possible. But guess what that time is called that it took to make that thing happen? That's called history. Or whatever happened during that certain period of time to get to this time, which happens to be the present, which is now the past, going to the future. History is it does not stop. And once um, you realize that it's all up to you. Well, some people get it from the get go. It's all up to you. It's all on you to make things happen for your life. To be greedy. Sometimes it's good to be greedy. Sometimes it's bad. There's times to be greedy and times to be not. And there's times where greed is accepted, believe it or not, and sometimes it's not accepted. Yes, believe it or not, there's people under a law where they say the greed was allowed and things like that, where, especially for certain ones, they look at it from whatever perspective they look at it. But greed is allowable. Look at Mr. Greedy. Yeah, I remember Mr. Greedy. I can't remember what that was from. Roger, Mr. Greedy comes round for lunch. I used to be so generous, and I still am, but I learned to be a little bit more greedy because I was just being far too generous, where then I was becoming like, I don't know, just wasn't, I mean, it just couldn't work out being so generous. Like Trump, they say he's a generous guy, eh? But I would say he's a greedy guy. He maybe gave you little chocolates, but guess what? I'm related to the guy ancestrally, whatever, and it's been proven and proven and proven again that I'm related to Donald ancestrally or whatever. But has the guy ever given anything to me? Nope. He hasn't given me not a dollar, okay? But he's given me millions of dollars worth of motivation, and I learned from him. Just him being alive and on that camera has benefited me. He's got me. Trust me. He's given me money through knowledge and all that. He didn't have to do none of that media stuff. He could have been like completely under the ground, Martin Shkreli or something. I don't know, but what I'm saying is he ain't giving me nothing. He's giving you guys a lot more than he's giving me. So don't think Donald's there to. Donald's really, honestly, he's been there. He's been more than there to try to stop me. His own family, technically, but I don't really know the guy from a hole in the wall, honestly. The internet that brought us together. That's the crazy thing about family, eh? Oh, it never used to be so interconnected like it is now. Even 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Now everybody's on these PCs, these machines, Facebook, all these tools that connect all these names. I've heard people say that's not the same Smith as me or whatever. Guess what? That's your family. You're connected now on the internet. You just forget that. You just never could be connected like that before. And it turned out my family's pretty big, both the Perrons and the Slotes and the Langs and other things. So is yours. And you might have black people in your family you never thought you would, or other things, people that you might get along with or not get along with. But guess what? Ancestrally, somehow they got attached to that name, whether they used to be a slave, even. Some of them used to be a sort of a outcast slave, sort of not an outcast, a slave or something that was given the name of a one family that happens to be majority white. But nowadays everybody's free as a bird, and they have that same last name. You think that can't be the same, this, that, other family, but you talk to them, they don't have any other black family members. They don't know anybody other than their last name. Yeah, that happens. Because I noticed that with my family, there was a black person with the last name. Same with the companies. Yeah, believe it or not, you might not talk to Uncle, for instance, Chapman's Ice Cream. You might not talk to your uncles and whatnot. Cody, for example, I know, but maybe he does. I'm just using this as an example all the way across the board. But he might, yeah, he knows he's related because he knows he was related because he was smart like that, Cody. Some people don't, though, at all know they're related to all those families. But my family, yeah, like my specific one that I'm under, Slote or whatever, happens to be related by marriage or whatever to another one or whatever. But mine's just been shown kind of, my reputation, the Slotes, has been kind of a hard working family. We're not that famous either. And if you search up the Slote name, it means here's the Jewish genealogy. We have all different ones all across the world. Slotes, Barons, it's a whole different thing. But I happen to be one of the most famous Slotes. You search up Slote, it's my name that pops up, Thomas Perron-Slote. Yeah, you might be older than me, but it just so happens that I worked my bum off where I am the most famous of Slotes and the most famous of Perrons in the world, in this earth on this earth that we live. You might have more money than me even. I just am more famous than you. But that's my family, and I hold them near and dear. And my family's not that